start by saying all praises to Yahweh, Bar Shem Yahushua, Bar Shem Harakal Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who were well, and shalom to the whole. Alright, we're going to get into the book of Isaiah, the 13th chapter, and break that now. And Lord willing, you be edified. So I'll read and break down. It says Isaiah 13:1, the burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see.
And it's, talking about going into the new Babylon, which is talking about America. Because more or less, there's prophecies when you do a Babylon in the scriptures, there'll be Babylon, then there's a daughter of Babylon. And that's talking about America. There's things where it's like that they didn't occur back in ancient Babylon, they still need to be fulfilled.
Okay. So reading on, it says, lift ye up a banner upon a high mountain, exalt the voice unto her, shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the nobles.
Yeah, so it says, lift you up the banner in a high mountain. The high mountain is talking about America, because it's those chief places of rule. Those let me see. The mountain referring to those summits. And what was the second one? It says what? Lift up the banner. The banner is this truth, this word. Basically, what brothers have been doing, what's been done since, by our elders, by the apostles that came before us, is what? Going out, teaching this word, basically putting it out there into the world. And it says what? That they may go into the gates of the nobles, because why? It's going to be just like in the time of Acts, where you had the nobles. You basically had like Paul, where he went before the seat of the nobles of Rome at that time, and then basically, the Lord put the spirit in of what to say in his mouth,
fulfilling the prophecy of which Yahweh spoke of in Matthew the 10th chapter, saying, "Think not what to say at the hour, for I will put the words in your mouth." Let me read this precept. Jeremiah 31:7 and 8 says, "For thus saith the Lord power, Lord Yahweh, sing with gladness for Jacob, and shout among the chief of the nations. Publish ye, praise ye, and say, O Lord Yahweh, save thy people, the remnant of Israel. Behold, I will bring them from the north country, and gather them from the coasts of the earth, and them with them the blind and the lame, the woman and child, and her that travaileth with child together. A great company shall return thither." Right? So it read, said the chief of the nations. So publishing and praising the Lord is the same thing that spoke of in Isaiah the 13th chapter. And that's what the Lord's doing, man. Right? He's raised up his chief men, the apostles of Great Millstone. They're from that lineage going back to 1 West, headed by High Priest Abba Bivens on down, basically. And America's the main place, and really a key place is New York City. Alright? So I'll read on. It says, verse 3, "I have commanded my sanctified ones, I have also called my mighty ones for mine anger."
Yeah, so the sanctified ones, that's the prophets. Because going to Jeremiah 1, 1 and 5, we're going to how, before I put you in the belly, I knew thee, and sanctified thee, and basically sent you out to the nations. Because that's how all the prophets, if it's a prophet, the false prophets is out of that, obviously, but all the prophets, all those that the Lord's dealing with, they've been sanctified and been sent with a purpose to do, man.
And then they actually sent as well to say, Yahweh said, "Sanctify them through the word, through the truth. Thy word is truth." So that Yahweh basically sanctified, to send forth the apostles last, but then they're sent to sanctify more, bring more men into the labor of the work. All right, and they've been ordained from the beginning as well.
Hmm. And then the mighty ones as well. The mighty ones from Mount Anger, talking about the angels, man, and how they're gonna be they're gonna be getting down as well in this time. Angels have got hella jobs to do and fulfill. And it's gonna be heavily in judgment, man.
Yeah, you go through the book of Revelations, it tells you about angels appointed to hold back the destruction. Angels appointed to bring. Every angel had a certain job. You know, the seven trumps. Just the angels are basically the ones that do the messengers of the Heavenly Father. Doing loads of works. Let me quickly read this to back up that point. So look. Right here. Salakia. Oh, that's saying, man. No, I know it's right here as well. Um, there it is. So it's Sirach 39 and 28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In a time of destruction they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Alright? Appease the wrath. So how do they appease the wrath? It may directly bring about judgment, but also they may manipulate the minds of men to basically do certain things to play out for the judgments of the Heavenly Father. So it goes on to say, it says, fire and hell and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, and the sword punishing the wicked to destruction. They shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is, and when their time is come, they shall not transgress his word.
Yeah, it says, what, even them that rejoice in my highness. Because why they rejoice? To fulfill their task. And that's why it's like all that, that cunningly devised fable, that nonsense of saying like, oh, Satan, he was going, he was following instructions, and it was just like, he's just caught up. It's like, no, but hold on, why do I have to do this and all that mess? That's all BS, man. That's all just a funny little story someone came up with, some BS that got made up. Because as far as just like with Satan, all the angels are in order. They're all following their orders, and that's why it's like, hey, all the judgment, it's all gonna be done in order, man. These angels are all gonna execute their offices spectacularly, and that's how they get down. Good, dealing with the rawness, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's like any time it's well, let me read this. Isaiah 45 and 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord Yahweh, do all these things. It's the Lord, whether it's good or evil you receive, whether it's the right hand or the left. Hey, the Lord's made it happen. Same thing with us. Job is a spectacular example. Because there was a time where it was like, yo, Satan was like, okay, I want to test him. So, what can I do? And then it was expanded, the scope of how far he's allowed to go. Was allowed to touch the substance, and allowed to touch the family, and allowed to touch Job's body as well. But hey, the Lord basically sanctioned it. You got something else?
Oh, no. So it goes on to say, 4. The noise of a multitude in the mountains is like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the hosts of the battle.
Yeah, that's all the nations basically being gathered together, heaped together for that what? That valley Yahweh Shabbat, the valley of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai's judgment, where all these nations are going to be heaped together and made to go into combat, man. They're going to be going to war. You're going to have that Third World War pop off, where there's going to be a massive amount of death and destruction. And that's what all these nations being heaped together. And then what? You're going to have it where it basically gets made, the Spirit's going to be put on the nations to hit the whole and burn it with fire.
Let me read this. It's Psalms 83:1. Keep not thou silence, O power, hold not thy peace. Be not still, O power, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consoled against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, and that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Yeah, these guys, these nations are what? They're the enemies of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. That's why it's like what all they're doing, they're trying to move against his people, man. Because as far as the vast majority of Jake out here, they have no fucking clue who they are. They don't know what the hell's going on. They're just like, yo, it's kind of fucked up predicament we've been in for a little while. But they're just but they don't realize all these nations, these guys, they've got their histories. They've not had their a lot of them ain't had their been discontinued from their heritage.
What they think is actually getting better now. There's more opportunities on the table.
Yeah, but they don't realize it's all this is these, and that's the thing is this whole new world order. There ain't no place for Jake in it, man.
Yeah.
They looking to have they don't want no Negroes around, man. They're looking to just make it a thing where they're gonna have it where the elites have those that they desire enslaved beneath them in that Karagma system, and then they're able to exert perfect power over everyone, man. They're trying to be like the Most High.
Yeah.
And Jake is what that main stumbling block between them and getting there, man. They know that Jake needs to get taken out.
Yeah. So reading on, it says, verse 5, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against the tabernacles of Edom, being the so-called white man, and the Ishmaelites, being the so-called Arabs of Moab, being the so-called Chinese, and the Hagarenes, belonging to Ham, I believe. And it says Jebel and Ammon, the Japanese, and Amalek, being the so-called Jews, the Philistines, which inhabit with the inhabitants of Tyre. Assur also is joined unto them. They have holpen the children of Lot, Selah. So it goes on. These are a myriad amount of sets of people. All right. We're gonna read another precept. So this is Joel 3:1. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My brain was scattered for a second.
I'll break it down.
But that's what's gonna go down. All these nations, they've built up a huge debt against Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, to where, because they've Esau at the head, but all the nations, they've basically had power over Jake. They've kept them in that destroyed state, and they've made merchandise and gained hella wealth, hella enjoyment, all the goodly, pleasant things of the earth at their expense. That means it's like, hey, the law's basically gonna have to pay that back, and that's why it's all they're gonna be ensnared in their enterprise they're trying to perform, man. All these they're gonna be brought down into that have that spirit of war put on them. But they're gonna go ham. They're gonna annihilate each other. They're gonna band up and annihilate Esau. But these guys that are dreaming of coming in next, they're all gonna. Yahushua is gonna make his return, and that's all gonna go out the window.
Yeah, I got this last precept. Psalms 2:1. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord Yahweh and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, the Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion.
Yeah. It's always going to be Israel. That's part of what had the heathen frustrated, especially Esau. That blessing that falls upon Jake, even till now. They're all trying. Esau's really trying to frustrate that to have it fall upon himself, but it ain't going to be so. Just before the world was made, Israel was the one that it was set for, man. Really the elect, and then everyone else, the rest of Israel through them.
Mm-hmm. Verse 5. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven. Isaiah 13:5. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land.
Yeah, those weapons. It's talking about the nuclear missiles, man. The ICBMs, those thermonuclear missiles, they've, been constructed. They're on the Earth. Everyone's, on edge about them, but they don't know the purpose. Those things have been made. They're going to be utilized. They're not just there as a deterrent. They're not there so that one day they can all be just shot into space and dismantled, and then we can just be like, we live all in peace, singing kumbaya. Nah, hey, the Lord says he's a man of war. He's gonna have that weapon, the weapon that's been crafted for a purpose, utilized. And it said what the Lord Yahweh Hashem Shai was in the weapons, man. Because why? It's going to be in there, man. There's going to be angels making all kinds of things happen.
Isaiah 54:16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I created the waster to destroy.
Yeah, created that waster. And that's what it's going to do. It's going to bring that mass amount of waste to America chiefly, but what other places are going to get touched as well, especially the land of Israel, man. That's going to have to get cleansed. Because that's as well. Fire is that cleansing agent.
Isaiah 9:5. For every battle of the warriors with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire.
Yeah. So just as this wars is unlike the ones previous, where it's, you have men face to face, whether with guns, rifles, bows and arrows, swords, shields. This is gonna,
more so the ancient warfare with swords and shields.
Yeah, this one's gonna be where it's gonna come down to that nuclear weaponry, man.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Isaiah 13:6. How ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as a sword. It shall come as destruction from the Almighty.
Yeah, that day of the Lord is something that you go around the world. There's all kinds of people seeking after it, but they don't know what it entails, and that's really why it's going to come as a thief. Because for them, it's like we're talking about. You talk about nuclear missiles. It's like when we used to have like the missile sign out, people would be looking at it like it's some kind of alien object, man. Like we're holding up a portion of a black hole up there, man. They don't know what to make of it, man. It's utter confusion. Because as far as for most people, that's the last thing they're trying to think of. But what? That day of the Lord, that's what it entails. Destruction, man. Judgment. That hour of temptation, man. That time of Jacob's trouble. These are the things that people aren't thinking about. They're thinking, oh, it's, all going to be happy and blissful, and then they're just going to get, raptured up to the heavens. But they don't know. It's the ones they're going to see getting beamed up into the chariots, which are known as so-called UFOs or UAPs. That's going to be so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, because those are Israelites.
Yeah, let me read this. It's because it said, "How ye?" 2nd Ezra 16 and 17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evil. What shall I do when the evil shall come? And this is a man of the Lord, Esdras, a great man that's being bestowed, the gems, the treasures of the Heavenly Father. And even in him seeing all of this, he said, woe is me, who's going to deliver me in those days? That's how terrifying the sights, how awesome the sights that he saw were, man. And this is a man of the Lord. So what more so the people that, that's really what perpetuates us to go on the highways and byways, knowing the terrors of the Lord, we persuade men. We read these scriptures and envision them, and that's what spurs us on. But this is going to be a great time of destruction, man. So reading on, it says, verse 7, therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt, and they shall be afraid, pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them, they shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth.
Yeah, they're gonna all the terrors that are being visited. That's how it's gonna be on a different scale than what is going on presently. Because even it's like with this whole pandemic situation, you had that period of time when it was the lockdown first started happening in and around March 2020, when people were kind of on edge. But that's all scattered to the wind. But this is going to be on a scale where it's going to continue. There ain't going to be no escape. They're going to think it's like it's in Amos, I believe, where it says, as if you did flee from a lion and a bear met him, and then you went up to rest up in the house, and the snake come and nipped at your ankles. Mm-hmm. It's going to be moving from one crisis to the next, and that's why it's a perpetual state of fear. And that's when they're truly going to understand it, because now people have all forms of distraction. They don't have to face reality at present, but the time's going to come where it's going to catch them. Mm-hmm. As we continue on, there's a bit more in that verse.
The last line. So verse 8. I'll read it again. And they shall be afraid, pangs and sorrow shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames.
Yeah. These guys are going to be all kinds of messed up, man. It's going to be a whole different level of amazement they're going to be feeling, because they've got no expectations as well.
So lucky. I thought we were going to say more. Verse 9, behold, the day of the Lord cometh cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it.
Yeah, the day of the Lord is coming cruel with wrath. It's coming with judgment. And it says what? To destroy the sinners out of it. That's by and large, man. It's like you turn up any rocket in the West, you're going to find 9 million sinners squirming around underneath that rock, man. So it's the people out here are really not prepared. They're feeling justified in all forms of lifestyle choices right about now. But hey, the Lord's basically going to bring an end to all that. Order's going to come. It's going to be like, hey, because that's really what's emboldened people. They're doing wickedness, and the judgment's not come. They've been like, damn. So I've been able to to run away with this to this extent. They're like, damn, why should I even stop?
Mm-hmm. So it says, verse 10, for the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in its going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine.
Yeah, so all that wisdom and knowledge and understanding in the carnal sense, that's all going to go out the window. All these different means by which, people are able to maneuver and construct their lives at present, that's all going to go out the window. It's going to come down to the raw reality that that has been escaped from, especially in the West. In the West, it's like these guys have really been disconnected from it. It's like there's people that from like certain parts of Eastern Europe, in the Middle East, certain parts of Africa as well. It's like you have to deal with reality on a certain level. But these guys over here, it's a fairy tale land, man. They're living in the bubble of bubbles. They don't even know how little of the world they're actually dealing with, and that's all gonna come back. You're gonna have it. It's gonna be the those that hold sway and power in this society. They're gonna be utilizing and bringing that to bear against the people, man. Just as you've seen it, people have been broken, man. They're more or less at the point. It's by and large, most people are willing to accept anything at this point already, just to continue with some, semblance or dream that at one point there's going to be some form of peace. That means it's like when it intensifies, that karagma, they're going to be breaking their ankles, trampling people's kids and dogs to go and get that karagma, man. Because they really are like disconnected. They want that peace, that ease.
So reading on, it says, verse 11, and I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible.
Yeah, all that pride, man. And that's the thing, it's the world's being punished for its evil. Just as when it's like Jake had to go into captivity, Jake had to get all kinds of jacked up, being still in that destroyed state till now, as a punishment. And that's why it's like, hey, you just gotta eat and continue. Abide and do that what you're supposed to. But then what? It's these in the world, they're disconnected from the fact there's going to be consequences. So all that pride that they're moving around in, all that enjoyment, all that bliss, all that self-actualizing they're trying to do, that's all going to come to an end. And it's going to be wired because what was it? 2 Ezra 15. I'll hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness. It's going to hit that point where the Lord's going to be like, okay, it's that time. And it's not just going to be easy. It's not just going to be like, you're just walking around and some cops just going to blow your brains out, and that's going to be the end of it. It's going to be a long, drawn out, painful, stressful endeavor. By and large, a lot of people are reserved onto that final fire, man, until the missiles come. They're going to have to make it through, and they're barely going to scrape through, and they might think like, maybe I'm going to see it, and then, the missiles they're going to hear some sirens blaring. They're going to look up to the sky, man, and be like, no! I'm going to see some of the chariots, and I'm going to see some missiles, man.
Verse 12, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, that even a man than a golden wedge of Ophir.
Yeah, so the men, and really it's the men of the truth. Those of the elect, that's who the men that are going to be made more precious than fine gold. And that's basically going to be this is kind of the point. That's essentially going to be what the only ones that are going to be able to endure through. Because why? The Lord's basically going to have their back, and that's what's going to be required. Because otherwise, if you're just out there, you're done. That's what I say. You talk to Jake now, just like, what can you do? You can't do nothing. It's like, why? These men are. You can try and resist. These men have got all kinds of. I'm like that. That's because they ain't got no faith, man. But hey, it's going to be those that have faith, belief in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and hey, they're going to basically make it through.
Yeah, it's a process because it tells you the affliction, Sirach, the 2nd chapter, not endure
Because you said in Johannes, it blew out the actual
yeah.
wording
But
out of my mind.
the
When you come to serve the Lord, prepare thyself, soul for temptation. I believe.
that's not the point I was saying, but it's about the furnace of affliction. That's it. So basically, how would you get a man more precious than the wedge of Ophir? How would you get a man comparable to gold? They would have to go through the fining pot, which is the furnace of affliction. So these men of the elect, they're basically being tried and tested to be those guys. All right, and that's ultimately how they're going to be hiding. A man shall be a covert from the wind, hiding from the wind, basically. So that's how 7 women shall take hold of 1 man. So this whole process of a man being more precious than fine gold, that ain't a light thing. There's a lot in that. Alright? Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place, and the wrath of the Lord of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger.
Yeah, the earth is basically going to be hit with an impact where it's going to dislodge out of its place, man.
I've got Isaiah 24 and 18. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fair shall fall into the pit, and he that cometh out of the midst of Salakia, the wrong
24 and 20, yeah.
24 and 20. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and shall fall and not rise again.
Yeah, the earth's going to roll to and fro, man, because it's going to be the impact of all the missiles hitting America. It's literally going to make America into a smoldering fireball. And that if you look at the sheer mass, the volume, the size of America on a globe, you look at that on a map, that shit is fucking colossal, man. So the sheer amount of missiles going to be needed to set that place alight is going to be insane. And then as well,
That's why it's 200 million.
Yeah, it's
warheads.
All them impacts is going to be done in out the earth, man. This is a grand judgment, man. This is the judgment that's been built up to for thousands of years, man. Now we're in the midst of when it's going to be playing out. That's why it's going to be a legendary event, man. And that's why it's insane. It's like the earth's actually going to dislodge, man.
Reading on it, it says, verse 14, and it shall be as a chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man return to his own people, and shall flee everyone to his own land.
Yeah, this is all going to happen swift, man. It says, like, America's going to be done in 1 hour, man. 1 hour that destruction is going to be visited. That's nuts. Because like you tell someone like, oh, America's going to be done in an hour, their brain's gonna unravel, man. Spaghetti's gonna start squirting out their ears, man, because they ain't gonna be able to process it. That's how mighty Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is. Because all this that now people are looking at like it's gonna be eternal. It's all gonna be revealed how valuable it was. It says, "Oh, everyone's gonna return to their own people." Because why? Everyone, and that's the thing is that spirit's already out there. It's like as soon as what was it?
Lockdown.
Mentioned like, well, even going before that, saying like when the Brexit vote went through, you had so-called hate crimes, racially motivated attacks, like increased by like 400% in the UK. That's really what goes down. It's like when them times of crisis come up, when it's like it gets heightened tensions, then people go back to them racial lines, and then people just be like, yo, fuck this, we're out. There's a lot of people, it's like, especially Europeans, when that went through, when Brexit went through, they were just like, yo, fuck this, I'm out. You had hella people from different nations just being like, yo, I'm done. So I know a lot of people that are South American, they all like have moved to Spain and then come to like the UK for work. A lot of them just go back to Spain. They ain't even no money in Spain. But hey, that's how the spirit is.
Yeah. So it says, verse 15, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword.
Yeah, it's all those that are basically clinging onto this place, this kingdom, this rulership, Esau's system. They're all gonna join in the same judgment, man. Just as Esau's gonna be done up, they're gonna be finished too.
Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not go unpunished.
Yeah, everyone all coming together to try and make whatever happen, try and save it. That Independence Day spirit, where it's just like you have the president just going around just making a speech, where everyone around the world is on their dingy little TVs in every country on earth and just like listening to it, and just like yes, and then just coming together and it's like, give me a break, man. That shit ain't gonna happen. It's gonna be attempted, and it's gonna result in this colossal failure.
So reading on verse 16, it says, their children shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes, their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished.
Yeah, it's gonna go back to that ancient spirit when that raw situation comes out. Once that martial law goes out, once the chaos hits a fever pitch where it's like, hey, all kinds of madness is being allowed, then that's when that whole spirit's gonna come back, man. Women ain't gonna just be out here walking around as it's been, and men are really like there's a lot of men where it's the only thing keeping them from doing things is because they know there's consequences. Once they're like, oh, they can get away with it, it's like, man, there's
It'll be a free for all.
Yeah, there's people where it's like, oh well, they're like the only reason they ain't walloping people over the head and dicing them up and sticking them in their freezer is because they're worried about getting caught. Second, they can get away with it. That guy's gonna be looking like Hannibal fucking Lecter and shit, man.
Yeah. So it says, verse 17, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it.
Yeah, the Medes are gonna get stirred up, and that's Let me grab this. But yeah, that's those Russians. They're basically gonna have that be in the spirit, which you can see. That's being exercised right now over in basically in and around the Ukraine.
And the way we know it's the Russians is because the Medes, it's talking about the landmass of Media. So you have the Medes and because I'm thinking about Ezekiel, the Medes and Salakia escaped me, but for the Medes, for the main most part, when you look at a map, a biblical map, it would be where Russia is today. So is it talking about who would be in that landmass today? The Russians, all right? So that's how we know it's the Medes. So you got a priest
that location. Yeah. Ezekiel 28:4 it says, with thy wisdom and with thine understanding thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Power, because thou hast set thine heart as the heart of God, behold, I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy wisdom, and they shall defile thy brightness. Yeah, so all that the Esau's gained, and especially with that wealth, that monetary, that money that he's gained, that's a big part of how Esau's able to exercise and deal with his system and hold power over people. He really thinks that it's going to be in some manner going to be used to bring about his salvation, man. He's thinking there's going to be some way he's going to scheme and bring these things how he desires, but really everything's the Lord's going to be putting the spirit on in the minds of these different rulers, man. they're gonna have a spirit put on them where they're just gonna be like, yo, fuck it, let's do this. And that's how it's gonna go down. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's like with ancient Babylon, when there was a writing on the wall, many tekel fastened. It was done that same night. It was a wrap.
Proverbs 11:4. Riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness deliver from death.
Yeah, riches. When it comes to judgment, then it's. Yeah, that's fine. When it comes to judgment, then those riches ain't gonna do much for you. That's the thing as well. It's, let me read this as well. Second Ezra 15 and 16 it says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the cause of their actions shall stand in their power." Because the thing is, like, when it comes to people basically going out and being like, fuck this, they're out for blood, then all that don't matter. A good example is, what's that film, man? Dark Knight Rises. Where when it was just like, yo, Bane came out and said like, yo, go take from all these rich motherfuckers that been living well. Then people just went in there and started smashing shit up. And that's how it's gonna be. Once they get a taste, they're just gonna be like, oh, yo, I can just do what I wanna do? Real? Bruv, that money ain't gonna mean shit. Any of them goods, they'll just be like, yo, I'll just kill you and take it. That's how peak it's gonna be.
I've got this precept. Wisdom of Solomon 5 and 6. Therefore have we erred from the way of truth, and the light of righteousness hath not shined unto us. The sun of righteousness rose not upon us. We wearied ourselves in the way of wickedness and destruction. Yea, we have gone through deserts where they lay no way. But as for the way of the Lord, we have not known it. Why hath pride profited us? Or what good hath riches with our vaunting brought us? All those things are passed away like a shadow, and as a post that hasteth by, and as a ship that passeth over the waves of the water, which when it is gone by, the trace thereof cannot be found, neither the pathway of the keel of the waves. But you get the point. Basically, it's gonna in this day that we're heading into, right? It's gonna be known that riches were profit. They seem profitable at the time, but they were only of no profit, man. Vanity, all right? Because the destruction of the Lord ain't gonna look at your wealth and say, okay, cool, yeah, pay me X amount and you're good. So reading on, it says, verse 18, their bows shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall have not spared children.
Yeah, it's gonna be that bloodlust, man. So you watch like Vikings or those period pieces where it'll kind of show how when men invaded, they'll just go into madness, man. Men just run up in the village, just like start burning shit down, axe shit down. They'll have people tied up afterwards and be dashing axes at them. It's gonna get messy. It's gonna get medieval, you could say. That's how real it's gonna get.
It's the book of 2nd Ezra 16 and 17. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. That's the time we're heading into, the time of Jacob's trouble, but also the hour of temptation to tempt the whole world. Alright, so how we're gonna go through the time of our trouble, the whole world's gonna be tried. Alright. So reading on, it says, but the bows, Verse 19, and Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, and the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah. It's basically just as, and that's the thing. It's like when Sodom and Gomorrah got taken out, it was like a grand legendary judgment. Same thing with Egypt, grand legendary judgment. Everyone knew the name Yahweh Shem Yahushua afterwards. It's gonna be, but now it's gonna be done again the same way. Esau's kingdom, this so-called America that's been set up as the place to get put on smash to basically exalt the name Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And that's how cold it's gonna be. It's gonna be a level of destruction, and it's gonna be one where people ain't gonna be talking about Sodom and Gomorrah or Egypt afterwards. They're gonna be talking about the land of the north getting annihilated, man. Because it's going to be a monument there. It says like the fire's going to go up and the smoke's going to be going up for a period of time. You're just going to be able to look over and see.
2 Peter 2 and 6, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemn them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly.
Yeah, that's why even the term sodomy still exists. Because why? It's like that got seared into basically into the world as that example. Just like, yo, you do these acts, this is what's gonna come. And that's why really in this time people ain't got no there's no avenue they've got to escape the judgment, man. Everything's there. Esau said a whole society is basically taking on the scriptures upon themselves. So there's really no escape.
Another precept, Revelations 11 and 8, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street, the great sea, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. So this nation, the land known as America, which is Babylon the Great, according to the Bible, basically personifies the spirit of Sodom and Egypt. When we read in Peter how it said that Sodom and Gomorrah was an example for those that should live ungodly. So if it showed you that that's the judgment that's going to be played out in a place of that nature, now if you bring that spirit into your city, what's going to happen? The same judgment's going to happen. And it just so happens the judgment is going to happen on a greater scale than Sodom and Gomorrah. So reading on verse 20, it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there.
Yes, it's basically gonna cease to be. It's not. There ain't gonna be no Viva Las Vegas, or ain't gonna be no Midwest. Ain't gonna be no Texas. Shit's gonna be done away with. There ain't gonna be no habitations there, because it's done. It's gonna be left. Well, it's already done.
Yep. It says, verse 21, sorry. But the wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there.
Yeah, all those, as I said, doleful creatures, man. They're gonna be the ones making a home there, man. You're gonna have all those creepy crawly things in and around there, and that's all there's gonna be. Cause why? That's gonna be a monument, man.
Precept, Isaiah 34 and 11. The cormorant and the bittern shall possess it. The owl also and the raven shall dwell in it, and he shall stretch out upon it a line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. Right, a line of confusion basically meaning no way to determine where the land was before. It's just gonna be a desert, a wasteland. It ain't gonna be there's palm trees there, there's pine trees, there's there's Empire State Building, Lady Liberty.
Ain't gonna be
There's not gonna be no differentiation. It's just gonna be a desert.
Ain't gonna be no Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
where it's just like, you did it, you did it.
Mm-hmm. So it says, verse 12, they shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all her princes shall be nothing. The fawns, yeah, they're going to be in slavery, all right? The fawns shall come up in her palaces, nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof, and it shall be the habitation of dragons, and a court for owls. The wild beasts of the desert shall also meet with the wild beasts of the island, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The Shiriklo also shall rest there, and find for herself a place of rest. There shall be the great owl make her nest, and lay and hatch, and gather under her shadow. For there shall the vulture under the vultures also be gathered, everyone with her mate. This is Isaiah 13 and 21. Oh, sorry, 22. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in the pleasant places. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged.
Yes, it's bounds have been set. That's the thing. It's the day that's reserved unto Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. It's once it hits that bound where it's like, yo, it's time for things to go, for this place to go down. Then that's gonna be it. It's gonna be set. It's all gonna play out. There's no way, and that's the thing is what Esau's seeking for is to extend his days, man. He's trying to make his rulership last forever, but it ain't gonna be how it goes down. This but it's gonna be done. America's gonna turn into that desert, and it's gonna be forgotten. Esau's rule's gonna be forgotten after 1,000 years. He's gonna be done away with, and then he's gonna be forgotten, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, straight to the point. Revelation 18:16, and saying, alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster and all the company in ships, and the sailors, and as many as trade by sea stood afar off. And they're standing afar off right now. All those freight liners, those freight ships. Alright? And cried.
It's like when America gets hit,
Yeah.
they're gonna be standing afar because it's like
It
all
might
that
still be
commerce,
there.
that shit's gonna be continuing. They're gonna be lamenting because why? No
They're
more
not
money,
gonna make
man.
the money.
No trade.
So it says, reading on, it says, verse 18, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that bad ships in the sea, by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. And that's the point, 1 hour. So I said in Isaiah that it comes, it's more or less going to happen very soon. And this is where it is, man. So yeah, man. So that's the breakdown. So with that, man, pray, you got anything to say?
No.
So with that, pray you're edified. Till the next one, say shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.